Hi, my name is Alice, and today's lesson is going to be about self-confidence and discrimination. Firstly, can anybody tell me what self-confidence means? Right. Self-confidence is trusting yourself and the things you feel you can do well. It's the feeling that you get when you face something hard, but you know inside that you can do it. Can anybody tell me what the word discrimination means? Yeah. Discrimination is treating some groups of people differently, usually worse than other groups of people. Today, we're going to be talking about discrimination based on skin color and based on gender. To start off, here are some pre-reading questions. What are some examples of unfairness that you can think of that have happened to you? In the book, when Sophie gets angry, really angry, she has big feelings. Can you think of times when you have felt really big feelings, maybe of anger? Were those times related to being treated unfairly? And lastly, have you heard of slavery? Slavery happened in the United States for a long time. It was when black people were owned by white people to do lots of really hard work for them. The white people got money from the work that the black people did and didn't give any to the slaves who actually did the work. The slave owners treated the slaves very wrong and very unkindly. The slave owners didn't allow their slaves to have any rights. And slavery ended less than 200 years ago, which sounds like a long time, but it isn't really. So we're going to read this book to learn about speaking up for ourselves and for others when we feel big feelings. This book is about an amazing woman named Sojourner Truth who is very brave. Are you ready to read? Great, here we go. This book is called Sojourner Truth's Step-Stomp Stride by Andrea Davis Pinkney, illustrated by Brian Pinkney. She was big, she was black, she was so beautiful. Her name was Sojourner. Truth be told, she was meant for great things. Meant for speaking, meant for preaching, meant for teaching the truth about freedom. Big, black, beautiful, true. That was Sojourner. Sojourner was born a slave. Her master named her Isabella. Sojourner's mother, Mau Bet, and her father, James Bomfrey, took a first look at their child and decided to call her Belle. Seems her newborn's cry was ringing in good news. Nothing quiet about that girl. Belle grew quickly. She was almost 6 feet tall while still a child. Along with her size 12 feet, she had hands like hams. Lots of muscle on her bones too, and no one dared pick a bone with Belle. She could plow, hoist, and haul better than any child her age. With her big-soled shoes on, she could stomp the beetles that tried to eat her master's corn. Belle's strength and size made her valuable. She was sold away from her parents when she was 9 years old, and to 2 more masters after that. This was the ugly way of slavery. Belle hated being treated as property, and she hated shucking, boiling, hauling, and working all day for her master, John Dumont. So, did Belle like being a slave? No, that's right. She hated being treated as property, and she was sent away from her family when she was only 9 years old. John Dumont knew how strong and capable Belle was. He promised to free her if she worked extra hard for him. Belle wanted her freedom more than anything, so she stepped to it. She worked hard for many years. She polished Dumont's brass until it gleamed. She mucked his horse stalls. She churned the Dumont family butter twice as fast. Finally, Belle went to John Dumont, ready to be freed. But John did not honor his promise. That's when Belle decided to run away. In search of freedom, Belle ran. She fled like tomorrow wasn't ever going to come. She covered some ground, child. She got gone. She refused to stop until she saw hope. Did John Dumont keep his promise? No, he didn't. That's right. He broke his promise. Belle ran right up to Hope's front door. She came to a farm owned by a Quaker couple, Isaac and Maria Van Wagener. The Quakers were abolitionists. They believed in freedom for all people. Isaac and Maria offered Belle shelter. When Belle's master, John Dumont, caught up with her, Isaac offered to buy Belle's services. But it wasn't Belle's work that he wanted. He wanted to free her. Belle's master took the money from Isaac, and then he got gone. Right then, Isaac freed Belle, and even though Belle didn't have to run anymore, she set out on her own. Belle went to New York City, where she could truly be free. And oh, was that freedom ever sweet. Freedom made Belle want to take the heels off her size 12s and kick them up high. Belle celebrated her freedom by marching her feet straight to a job. Belle worked as a maid who made money for the work she did. No more master, no more cotton to bale, beetles to stomp, or corn to shuck. Belle soon learned that to celebrate freedom, she had to speak her beliefs. For her, freedom meant helping others. Freedom meant putting her foot down for what she knew was right. Freedom meant she would travel up and down the land to share her ideas. That's when Belle changed her name. She gave her slave name the boot and called herself Sojourner Truth. She said the name Sojourner was just right for someone who was a traveler. And truth, well, that was what Sojourner did best. She told it like it was. What did she name herself? Belle changed her name to Sojourner Truth because she wanted a name she had picked for herself, and this name represents freedom. Sojourner couldn't read or write, but she could sure speak her mind, and now she was free to go wherever she wanted to find folks who would help spread the word about freedom. She met many abolitionists, women and men who spoke out against slavery. In her travels, Sojourner made a friend named Olive Gilbert. Olive was an abolitionist. She read the Bible to Sojourner. Sojourner memorized every word in that good book. She could recite the entire Bible, from the Begats to the Beatitudes. Sojourner told Olive all about her childhood as a slave. Olive wrote down Sojourner's story. In 1850, the narrative of Sojourner Truth, a northern slave, was published. What was the name of Sojourner's friend? Right, Olive. Olive Gilbert. Sojourner carried her book with her everywhere. She spoke about the unfair treatment of black people and women. When Sojourner preached, she let her words fly, free as the highest dove in the sky, free as the sky itself. Sojourner's voice was packed with power. As she traveled, she learned even more about the meaning of freedom. She found that freedom is not a place. Freedom is the fire that burns inside. And Sojourner Truth, she was full of fire. Once, when Sojourner was scheduled to speak at a rally, someone threatened to burn down the building. That didn't stop Sojourner. She said, "I will speak upon its ashes." In 1851, Sojourner step-stomped to a women's rights convention in a church in Akron, Ohio. There was no rain on the day of the convention, child, but oh, was there thunder! What struck that spot was strong and loud. It was Sojourner's step, stomp, stride. There weren't any big, black, beautiful preachers in that church, yet the main question was, should women have the same rights as men? And you can bet the men at the meeting had something to say about that. Most of the men were ministers. Like Sojourner, they knew all the words in the Bible. And, same as Sojourner, these men were following their own strides. One minister said that men should have superior rights and privileges because men were smarter than women. The next man to speak said that men should be allowed to boss women around because Jesus had been a man, and that God wanted men to rule the world. Then came two more speakers. The first one opened his Bible and said that women were lower than men, because in the Garden of Eden, Eve had given in to the serpent and had eaten the apple of temptation. This minister's friend said that women were too weak to deserve equal rights, because they needed men to hold open doors for them, help them into carriages, and over puddles. Well, that was enough for Sojourner. She stood up. She stepped from the back of the church to the front. She stormed past the stupidity of the men who had just spoken. Sojourner put one big, black, beautiful foot in front of the other, and she stomped on the floorboards of ignorance that were underneath. To her, the arguments made by the men were the Beatles from her past. She couldn't wait to stomp, stomp, stomp all over them. Ignorance means that they don't know any better. Sometimes, because people are ignorant, they say or do things that are unkind. What can we do to help them learn? Yeah, we can teach them and tell them important facts, just like Sojourner is about to do. Sojourner took each man's belief and slammed it down like a nail. Her fist struck a hammer's blow to the podium. Bam! She said, "You say women need to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches. Nobody ever helps me into carriages. And ain't I a woman?" Bam! Down came Sojourner's hand, an iron fist, smashing the lies of the day. Bam! Bam! "Look at me," Sojourner went on. "I have plowed, and I have planted, and I have gathered into barns. No man could head me, and ain't I a woman?" Now Sojourner was ready to preach her beliefs about what the Bible meant to her. She spoke to the man who told of God's will. "Where did your Christ come from?" she asked. "From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with him." Then Sojourner talked about Eve and the apple in the Garden of Eden. She said, if the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down, all alone, then women ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again. Down came both fists. Bam! Bam! When Sojourner was done, she told the congregation, "Now old Sojourner hasn't got nothing more to say." And that was the truth. Sojourner had spoken the honest to goodness. She was ready to step, and step she did. Her size 12s hit their stride. Off she walked. Big, black, beautiful, true. That was Sojourner. Here's some more about Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth was born in Ulster County, New York in 1797. The exact date is unknown. She was the 9th child born to her parents. Even as a girl, Sojourner had a deep belief in God. She often felt led by God's guidance. This prompted her to take the name Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth was the mother of 5 children. She often fled with them in tow. Over the course of her lifetime, she managed to obtain freedom for them all. After Sojourner's book was published, she supported herself with its proceeds. The book had an introduction by noted abolitionist William Lloyd Garrison. Sojourner's shawl, bonnet, and, in later life, her wire-rimmed glasses became her signature dress. This clothing was similar to Quaker attire. By the early 1850s, Sojourner had become a popular lecturer in many states. Posters announced her upcoming engagements. She spoke to standing room only crowds. She often sang hymns during her speeches. A women's abolitionist group made Sojourner a white banner that said, "Proclaim liberty throughout the land, and to all the inhabitants thereof." And sometimes she wore this for public appearances. As she traveled, Sojourner kept a book of life, a scrapbook of mementos. On October 29, 1864, Sojourner met President Abraham Lincoln, who signed her book, For Auntie Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth died on November 26, 1883, in Battle Creek, Michigan. She was about 86. Her friend Olive Gilbert visited her 2 weeks before her death. Sojourner sang this hymn to Olive on that day. It was early in the morning, it was early in the morning, just at the break of day, when he rose, when he rose, when he rose, and went to heaven on a cloud. The end. Did Sojourner use her fists or her words to make people understand her? That's right, her words. How did you feel as we were reading the book and talking together? What do you think are some good things we can say when we see someone being treated unfairly? Yeah, those are some great examples. Some that I came up with are, "Stop, that's not very nice. Please use kinder words when talking to my friend. If you do not want to be treated that way, please don't treat others that way. That's not fair to my friend," or "That's not fair to me." You can also tell a teacher or another adult if you have already tried to fix the problem. Your homework tonight will be to ask your parent about a time they were upset with unfair treatment they received. You will also be drawing a picture of yourself and writing down some qualities that give you confidence. In future lessons, we will talk about how we can be kinder people and how we can be better at respecting others' ideas and their bodies. We will also talk more about ways to build up our self-confidence. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thank you for reading with me. Bye!